Hey ballers, welcome back to the channel. On this episode, we will be taking a set of 14-inch handlebars and installing them on the 2019 Sport Glide.
Boy, that sure sounds good.
Okay ballers, so this is the finished product, and I'm going to throw this in at the beginning of the video rather than at the end. And I'm throwing that in there simply to say that there's a number of things you're going to want to be prepared for that I necessarily wasn't prepared to do when I swapped out these bars. So I'm going to show you some of that stuff right now. Okay, so before you get started on replacing your handlebars, there's a few things you're going to want to have to make the job go easier and make your bars look good in the end. So first, you're going to need some wire wrap here, or shrink tubing. I ordered this off of Amazon, Wirefly, I don't know, 20 bucks, and it's got different sizes in here to shrink wrap. Also, you're going to want to order one of these electrical connectors. This makes it so much easier, these little connector rods. Obviously you're going to have a soldering gun, but you connect your cut wires together and crimp them down, and then you can throw some solder on there so they don't go anywhere, and that's all good. Also, you're going to need some 16 gauge cable. Now I ordered a set of 6 different colors off of Amazon. I want to say this is 100 feet of each. More than you need, but either way, you're going to need several different colors so that when you're wiring this up, you can know what your color combinations are. The other thing I would say is make sure before you cut any cables, any wiring off your old bars, that you take pictures of everything. In the video, I do show you where I mark it with colored pencil, and that seemed to work. But luckily for me, I had some video I could go back and refer to that showed me just some of these additional connections. So other than that, obviously you need a soldering gun, you need a heat gun to hit your shrink wrap, and that's about it. Other than I will say that on this model of Softail, it's 2018. I'm sorry, it's 2019, but I don't know where the model starts. But let's just say it's 2018 and up. You don't need the full clutch cable. You just need an upper clutch cable. So I made that mistake, and when I bought the clutch cable, it was the whole thing, and I couldn't use it. I had to buy a new upper clutch cable. This upper clutch was only, I want to say 85 bucks, worked great, super easy to install. And other than that, obviously you're going to need a number of tools to get this thing done. But I'm just going to tell you, if I can do it, anybody can do it. It did take me several days. Most of it was the soldering work, and you'll see a bunch of that in the video. I'll probably cut it short, but you know, there was so much cabling coming down from my throttle by wire side, between that, my turn signals, and all of the accessories for the start and the stop and whatnot. There just was not enough room when I got down here to this 90-degree bend to use all of the OEM cable that came on the old system. So what I had to do is I had to run my own set of cables, which is why I tell you to get the 16 gauge cable, because you may need it. You should need it. I had to run my own so I could get it up through here. Now that's on these particular bars. If you have bars where the cutouts are right here on the side, not in the middle, and maybe it's not this 9 degree, it's a more of a gentle bend, you might be able to get away with it. But I could not. Once I got into here, I tried for hours to get another cable through there, and it just ended up being apparent that I was just going to have to run my own cable, not in a sheath, and it worked out. But that's why I say take pictures. Also, one other thing, and you can get this off of Harley's website, the wiring diagram. All you need to do is go to Harley's site, put in your, create a login, and then just put in your VIN number, and they'll give you the guides to the wiring for, whatever your bike is. And that helps a lot when you're trying to put some of this stuff back together, to just kind of, keep yourself sane. Okay, so here's the rest of the video. Hey ballers, thanks for watching the channel. If you like our content, please give us a thumbs up. And if you really like our content, go ahead and subscribe. So hey, I got the 2019 up on the lift already. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna replace these factory handlebars with a set of 14 inchers. Now, out of the factory, this bike, it's a 2019, maybe some other models came different. I don't think so, but it basically has a 4-inch riser on it, and then the handlebars are another 4 inches. So all in all, it's about an 8-inch total rise on those handlebars. For me, I'm 5'6", so when I'm on the bike and I'm sitting and I'm reaching up to grab onto the handlebars as well as keep my feet on the pegs, I'm kind of in this hunched over position, and it doesn't, it's just not that comfortable for me as a rider. So we're going to take off these bars. I'm going to put the set of 14 inches on there, and between the 14 inch and the 4-inch rise that's on here, you're talking about 8 inches. I'm sorry, you're talking about 18 inches, so an additional 10 inches from where you see this position right now, and that'll give me the ability to sit back in this custom saddle seat that I had made and enjoy this bike a lot more. So let's get into it. Okay, so I just recorded a video on taking off the tank because we're going to do a tank lift on the bike. Along with doing a tank lift, you have to take the tank off anyway to swap out the handlebars because you want to get to the electrical that's sitting in under the tank. So we're killing a couple birds with one stone. So I've taken the tank off, and you can watch the other video on that. Of course, to do that, you got to take the seat off. So here we are at the bike, and then the next thing I'm going to do before I do any electrical work on the bike is I'm going to pop the main fuse, which is just under our side panel. So you're going to need a 5/32 on here. And I'm just going to pop this off real quick. Get the table over here. I'm just going to set that off to the side. Let's get it out of here without having to take my strap off. Okay, so I've taken the panel off, and I'm going to pull out the main fuse and just disconnect it, and then go shocky. So, okay, there's little tabs on both sides of this, so you basically got to pop these tabs up. Because this cover's locked in there, and once you do that, you can pull it out. Now, this is your main 40-amp circuit. This is a 2019. It does come with the security system. If I just pull this circuit out, the alarm's going to go off. So, to avoid that, you have to turn your bike on to run. Let it go through its startup cycle. And then I should be able to pull this, and there you go. No security alarm. And I can just turn the bike back off. We're all good. And then of course, when you go to put it back on, just put it in and turn the bike on. So that's it, we're disconnected, and now I can mess around with the electric and not worry about getting shocked or shorting out the bike or whatever. So. All right, it's a T25 to pull this retainer off. Try to keep that in there, but yeah, now that lets me just kind of move this out. All right, now that the line is out of the way, I got a little more play in here. You can see that I got these links, are these connectors. In general, you know, it's pretty obvious as to how they go back together. However, if you're concerned or worried about, hey, I'm not going to be able to match these back up, you really shouldn't be, but in my experience, these connectors are unique. But what you can do is get yourself some pens. I have basically some chalk marker pens. And what I'll do is I'll just match those lines with the pen so that I know when I'm going to put them back on, what goes where. So, just, you know, different color for different stuff, right? So, and I'm not trying to like say, oh, well, purple is, you know, headlight or something like that. I'm just going to say, oh, well, this connector here, which I have purple on, is going to go to this guy. And then I can pull it out of there, and I'm sure that when I go put it back together, I just look for purple to purple, and away we go. Running up to these bars. Now, the next thing I got to do is disconnect my brake lines and my clutch cable, and that'll be that. Then the bars will pop right off. Okay, now that I have all the electrical disconnected, that's running up to the bars, I'm going to go ahead and pull off the mirrors, pull off the throttle, the brake, just all the stuff so I can get the actual bars up out of there. I like to start with the mirrors because they're going to come off anyway, and you know, don't want them to get broken. So. All right, now that I have all of the mirrors and the clutch cable, brake line off, I can take the top off here and then pull the wires up through, and we'll start the install on the new bars. I had loosened this up earlier. And so I only have 2 screws in here just holding this kind of in place. top plate, 4 screws. I'm just going to set this over on my table. And now I'm ready to pull the bars up out of here. So just grab some of this. These things through. And our bars are off. Okay, so now I'm not going to take off the risers. The bars that I purchased will fit right down on here, and I, included this in my calculations as to what I was going to need. So I have 7 new bars, and essentially what's going to happen is they're going to go in right here, and that'll bring this bike much further back from me. Again, as I discussed earlier in the video, I'm 5'6", so this will let me sit back in the seat much further and give me a much more comfortable ride on this bike. This bike is already a very comfortable bike, but this will let me really do some long haul rides with it. So yeah, let's do the next part, the fun part. All right, I got the old bars on my table over here, so I basically just need to feed this stuff back out through here. Probably have to pull this side off a little bit, but we'll see how it goes. Let's separate the wires a little bit. You can tell kind of what goes where. These little flat, skinny ones are always your turn signals. So I'm going to start with that and see if I can't get him out. You're tugging on these. They should fit, but they just never go. Okay, so I was able to open up this package, take a look at the directions. Again, this is an LA Choppers, basically extension handlebar wiring harness kit. What I'll tell you is the brake lines and the clutch cable are great. This extended harness kit, to me, is useless because I'm going to have to do soldering work anyway now that I look at this. Really what the directions want you to do is cut these ends off and then solder these on. Well, if I'm going to do that, then I might as well just cut these ends off and get some regular cable that I already have and solder them on. So I'll go ahead and use these, but what I'm telling you at home, or anybody that's watching this video, is you can just get the brake line and the clutch extension and just get some regular voltage electrical wiring like I have here. And I have enough here that I basically, I could extend all of this. So again, you're gonna have to use a soldering gun anyway, so don't necessarily waste your money on this spool here. Again, brake line, great. Clutch cable, great, because I am getting the chrome version of these. These extensions really aren't doing anything for me. I'm gonna have to do the soldering work anyway. So, all right. That being said, I'm gonna try to run this through first and see what I can do. And if I can't get it through, then we'll have to cut these ends off and kind of try to pull it through a different way. So, yeah, let's try to make it happen. All right, ballers. So all the cables are run. And I can tell you the problems that I had and didn't have, and maybe you'll, well, I'll tell you the problems that I've had and what I had to do to get around it. So these particular bars, they're 14-inch, and you can see I kind of got I got an angle that comes down here, but when I get down to the bottom here, this is a 90-degree angle. So on my left side here, where my control module is and my turn signals, that came down through here pretty easy, not too hard to run. This side was a real pain, mostly because of this 90-degree angle right here. And so my throttle body, or my fly-by-wire cable that runs through the throttle, is up in here. And by the time I got my turn signal light down through there, this control module here that sits here with your turn signals and your start and stop and whatnot, when I got down here, it was just so much cable that I couldn't get it through. And I tried multiple times, and at some point I just had to cut bait. And what I did was, because this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4 cables that are here, what I did is I just ran 4 individual cables up through here and cut my leads, soldered them, cut the leads down here, and resoldered everything together. So took quite a bit longer than if the cables would have just came all the way through. But like I said earlier, you're going to have to cut these connectors off and resolder everything. So again, it's kind of a pain, but they're finally together, and hopefully I got all my connections right, so when we power this thing up, everything powers right. Okay, let's put them back on the bike. Okay, baller, so the 14-inch bars are on the bike. I just have them on there temporarily. You can see here that I have a bunch of the cables coming through, and I want to clean that up, but before I get it cleaned up, what I need to do is get my clutch and everything kind of put back on here, as well as get the brake and the brake lines and everything kind of put together up in here, and these cables all down in there. And once that's all done, then I can pull out any slack that I want from here and kind of clean that up and make it look as nice as I can. So as part of that, I have to swap out the clutch line. So the way you swap out the clutch line on the Sport Glide, or really any of the Softail lines, 2018 and up, is your clutch comes down and it wraps around. There's my clutch just kind of hanging here, right? But it comes through here, and there's this black case that covers up the clutch line. So you basically just slide this case up, and what happens here is this clutch is basically fitted, the clutch line's fitted together here inside. And the reason they did that is because if you had to swap the clutch line prior to something like this, you had to actually take the plate off and kind of get into the engine where the clutch plates are and run that whole new line. So, this definitely was a great improvement that Harley did. So the way that you get this off is pull the line up, and you got this little red clip here. What you're going to do is you're just going to squeeze in on the back and push it out. And what that does is it relieves the tension. And now you can see that I got the little clutch ball down in here, and I really need 2 hands, but basically that relieves the tension, and I can take a screwdriver on the back side here and just kind of push that ball up, and it'll pop out. And once that pops out, I can pull this whole line up out of here and replace it with my longer line. So it's looks complicated, or it looks a little daunting, but it really is not. Okay, ballers, so I'm working on the brake lines. I've had a couple issues, and it's worth noting that the mistake I made when swapping out the front brake line is I should have disassembled all of the brake line on the old bars before I tried to put them on the new. The problem I had is, my brake line and clutch and everything only came up this high, and because it was off the bars, I couldn't get any torque to get this thing off. So I tried all kinds of stuff to get it off, and because it was just like hanging here. So finally what I ended up doing is, because I'm replacing the brake lines, I just cut the line. And once I basically came up here and installed this master cylinder back onto the handlebar, then I was able to turn this nut off with no problem. But prior to that, I was putting everything I had into it, and it just wasn't budging. So I guess a tip is, if you're going to replace all that, which you're going to have to if you're putting on much higher bars, disassemble that all before you take off the old bars. All right, so now that I got that on, what I'll end up doing is replacing these lines. I pulled the line off of here. You can see it's just kind of draped down. We'll go ahead and replace all of our line here as well. I have I got a mess over here, but essentially I have the new brake line from my kit to go on there. And yeah, other than that, I think I'm good. Okay, ballers, so the clutch line is on, as well as the brake line. As I said earlier, the LA Choppers brake line and clutch cable kit, while the brake lines were fine as far as length and all the parts, the clutch line was way too big. It's made for 2016 and up Softail, and of course on these M8s, I really just need an upper clutch cable, which is right here, and real easy to replace. I just had to get the right pieces and parts for it. In hindsight, if I was going to do this again, I would do a little more research and get the upper clutch kit, or just the upper clutch cable, which I had to buy. It was like $60. And then, of course, the brake line. I think I'd just get some custom brake lines made, because what I don't like about the kit is it's got this hard bend here. I can't really adjust that. And it's okay, it'll work. It's just, I would prefer to see something kind of coming down. So I tried every different way to get this thing on there, and that's kind of the best way. So, but yeah, it's on, it's ready. And then I went ahead and I got all my wiring back in the harness here. A couple things I did have to do is I had to trim off this harness in the back, because with the added cable length and just some of the other stuff I did, it was just really tight to get it in there. And so I ended up cutting that out a little bit. There's a middle piece that kind of sits in there, and it really just goes in between a couple of the little module plate that's in there. It's maybe for some vibration or something, but it's not like it's needed. And that really causes some issues trying to get it back in here, mostly because this brake line is in here. And even though there's a bolt here that you can take off right here, and that'll give you a little bit of play, but obviously at the factory they're putting all these electronics in there, and then they're slapping the brake lines on, because if Harley was going to make it a little bit easier for people, they would have either maybe brought the brake lines down right in under here or up over. Of course, here's where your tank gets bolted on, but they could have, maybe brought the brake line up. I don't know. They just didn't have to cut it this close, in my opinion. So anyway, it's all back on and ready to go. I did test it. I plugged everything in, and bike wants to turn over. Obviously, I'm getting an error because the fuel tank is not on there, but lights work, horn works, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, yeah, we're good to go at this point. I still need to bleed the brakes, but right now I'm going to go ahead and put it back together. And okay, ballers, so this is the finished product. Got the 14-inch extension, or the 14-inch bars put on here, and I have a much better and much more comfortable riding position on this bike now. As you saw in my earlier video where I was doing a review of this bike, one of the things I just didn't like about it was my hands were down here. And now that my hands are up and back, now I can actually sit up in the seat, and this bike is set up to make some long rides. So yeah, very happy with the handlebar install. Again, it was a tedious, time consuming, test your patience process, but very happy with the work. So hey, thanks for watching the channel, and if you like us, give us a like, and if you really like us, we'll go ahead and subscribe.